If you wanted to enter the luxury car space in India, the Volvo XC40 was pretty much your top choice. I mean, it's got the looks, it's got the features on the inside, it's premium, and it is quite practical as well. And this is the updated version, the 2023 XC40 B4. Now, it's got some subtle tweaks on the outside, some changes on the inside, and since it is a B4, it is a mild hybrid now. Alright, so let's begin with the mild hybrid system. Now essentially it gets the same engine, a 2-litre turbocharged petrol, but on this version it makes 197 horsepower, 7 horsepower more than the previous one, and 300 Nm, which is still the same. But the bigger difference and rather improvement is just in the way it performs, because it is a lot more responsive. Now, what the mild hybrid system essentially does is that it harvests power under braking. When the car brakes, the energy that would usually be lost is conserved, and then that battery powers a motor which sort of provides a lending hand to the engine, and that improves performance. And since it takes a bit of load off the engine, it also improves efficiency too. Now this thing is most evident under acceleration, because if you put your foot down, it does gain speed quite quickly, and that wasn't something you could say about the earlier car, because it was just a bit too linear in terms of power delivery and a bit too relaxed. However, the earlier R-Design version did get drive modes between normal, eco and dynamic, and while that did change the way the engine responded, it still wasn't as responsive as this is. This one doesn't get any modes, but it still is a vast improvement. But of course, the things that have been carried over, the positives, are the refinement. It is very smooth, very calm, and the cabin is nice and hushed as well. Vibrations are absolutely zero, and it is just such a relaxing car to drive. Now, mated to the 2-litre petrol engine is the same 8-speed automatic gearbox as before, and it still isn't as responsive as we would have liked. That was a complaint with the earlier car, and in this one, it still is. The thing is, because the engine is a bit more responsive, you don't really feel the delay in shifts. That said, if you do end up pushing the car a bit, you will find that the gearbox isn't as responsive for a spirited drive. You also don't get paddle shifters, so that little bit of engagement you would have had is not there. And you do get this triptonic function, which means you can move the gearbox side to side. Again, not the most engaging thing. We've seen this on the XC60 and the S60, so it's not much in terms of driver focus. But once up to speed, it's fine, and shifts themselves are quite smooth, so that's not an issue. But the one good thing with this gearbox is that you no longer have to nudge it twice to put it from drive to reverse. It's just one quick push and the car does it all. The XC40 might not get drive modes, but it does get an off-road mode that helps it over light trails and slushy B roads. Now, Volvos aren't really known for handling unless you have the Polestar. These cars are supposed to be driven sedately and calmly, and the XC40 is just that. Around some tight bends, you won't feel much in terms of engagement, especially against the likes of the BMW X1 or the Mini Cooper Countryman. The steering is light and breezy to use, but lacks feel. That said, if you find the steering to be a bit too light, you do get modes in here that can add a bit of weight to the steering and can also add a bit more feel. Now, I tried them, and yes, they do work in the sense you will notice the added heft and weight, but you won't really feel connected. They don't offer much in terms of dynamism or just in terms of the purity that you need from a steering. Now, the one thing the XC40 was really good at was high-speed manners, and on the highways, this thing is absolutely flat. It is stable and so planted, it gives you so much confidence. Problem is, there is a hint of firmness at low speeds, and when you get on those tricky bumps, you do feel them in the cabin. Over hard edges, the Volvo isn't as supple, and thuds are a lot more prominent, but over moderate speeds, it fares just fine. Now, in true Volvo fashion, this thing is absolutely packed, and the one thing Volvos are known for is, of course, safety. Now, this gets your ADAS features that some cars right now are raving about. Volvo started it way back then, but this car has them too. So you have adaptive cruise control, you've got lane mitigation, you've got active brake assist, there's all there. And I've said this before, that while it is very nice to have them, they are a bit intrusive when you consider our traffic conditions. Lanes are not marked well, the traffic is absolutely random, somebody can cut you from anywhere, and that is when the system gets alarmed a bit and it reacts in a way that you won't really expect. It'll suddenly brake, it'll suddenly swerve, it'll try to keep you in the lane, so you just need to be a bit wary about that. Now, since this is an update, there are some visual changes on the outside and inside. The changes to the exterior are rather minor. The B4 trim doesn't get the R design treatment throughout. That means no dual tone paint shade, no swanky alloys, and a lot less of black. Still, you do get the R design grille, reshaped LED headlamps, and reprofiled bumpers at the front. Over to the side, the 18-inch wheels give it the right proportions, but they look a bit too plain. And at the back, the changes are fewer still with gloss black skid plates and the B4 badge. Inside, things are not too different either.
Now, when you're talking of entry-level luxury cars, the word luxury is of most importance, and when you step inside the cabin, people expect premiumness, and that I think is very much there with the Volvo. They have this lovely sense of minimalism. We've seen this design before, nothing is new about it. It is a very clean look. You have the vertical mounted touchscreen here, very few buttons. In fact, there are buttons only for the media controls. Even the HVAC is controlled through the screen. Now, it is a new system. The UI has been tweaked slightly. You do get Google as the standard navigation, which I think is great because you plug in Apple CarPlay only for maps most of the time, and when you have them as standard, it is a lot more convenient. You also have SIM-based connectivity in here, so the car is connected to the internet.
The XC40 also gets Apple CarPlay but misses out on Android Auto, and there is also an all beige upholstery to choose from. What's also new is a crystal gear shifter like on the bigger S60 and the XC60, and a refreshed digital instrument cluster.
But overall, the quality, the build is absolutely fantastic. You get a Harman Kardon music system, and this new wooden inlay also does the job as well. Looks quite premium. Then you also of course have the AC vents that are nice and metallic, very, very premium to the touch. You get a good amount of soft touch materials all around the cabin, and you of course have the features, the lengthy list, panoramic sunroof, wireless charging, memory seats. So it doesn't really struggle when you need to boast of some features. Well, it is such a comfortable SUV to drive. You can just imagine driving this on long distances absolutely comfortably. And a lot of that has to do with the seats that are just so beautifully supportive. They have just the right amount of cushioning as well, and they are in true Volvo fashion, really, really nice.
However, the back seat is where the XC40 falls short. While the space is plenty with good legroom and headroom, the backrest is just too upright to be comfortable over a long distance. Boot space though is a good 460 litres, adding more to the practicality. The XC40 has been launched at an introductory price of 43.2 lakh rupees for the festive season, which will later change to 45.9 lakh, which is a shade higher than its rivals.
So in conclusion, if you are someone who is looking to enter the luxury space, and if you've narrowed down the XC40, rest assured you will not be disappointed at all.